And away we go.
Paralyzed by fear, I'm clutching you so tight, afraid to lose. I retreat more each night. Where is my voice? I've muted myself, and in my shyness, it's you I repel. I will find my way to express my voice. I must find my way to ignite my spark. Find my way to me so we can be we. Find my way. The fractures between us rise into view. I cling to the scraps of the care that falls through. Where is my strength? I've crumbled apart, hiding from the truth. I've shattered my heart, but I will find my way to regain my strength. I must find my way to restore my will. Find a way to me so we can be we. Find my way. Here is this moment to take a chance to go on alone or grow and advance. I will find my way to express my voice. I must find my way to ignite my spark. Find my way to me so we can be we. Find my way. I will find my way to regain my strength. I must find my way to restore my will. Find my way to me so we can be we. Find my way. Find my way. I'll find my way.
Happy Sunday, everybody. Thank you for finding your way to Sunday Live with Caleb and Joe. You may be asking yourself, I thought this was Wednesday. You would be correct. So on Sunday, we were having terrible audio problems. We still don't know why. They just sort of cleared up over time. So I'm assuming the Restream IO platform that's doing our streaming for us was having a problem. I heard a little of the problem when the show started tonight, but then it disappeared. So who knows the mysteries of the internet and of technology. Hope you're doing safe out there and your week's going well. I'm in Seattle, and it has been a mix of sunny and clouds and rain, but I still got out on my bike ride, so I'm happy. Let's check in with Joe down in San Francisco. Hey, Joe.
Evening.
Good
evening. On Wednesday night.
Good evening on a Sunday, Wednesday night.
Yes, that's our Sunday, Wednesday live.
I got to the gym today.
Well, I got to the back roads today. I've been riding bicycles a lot, but today I spent 180 miles on a motorcycle in the back roads of Northern California, culminating at the summit of Mount Hamilton amidst all the observatories, notably James Lick Observatory, with a valley of Santa Clara Valley below and downtown San Jose prominent in its midst, and then heading up Mines Road to Livermore, 580 and back. To the East Bay, just in time to barely catch the beginning of the commute, uh, which I sidestepped and went through city streets to my home. A very long, rewarding motorcycle ride.
Nice. The traffic has started to build up here again. So I've noticed more people are on the road. Uh, but I also got out on the bicycle along the trail, along the lake, and pedaled over to a microbrewery beer garden kind of place, with dogs running around and all that kind of jazz. That was cool. And
That's
so,
perfect.
yeah, and kind of went there, just had a little sampler of a couple beers, cycled back to the car. My bikes can't make the hill from where we are because we're in a hilly area in a valley, and you got to go over several hills that don't really have what do you call curbs or sidewalks or anything. So there's a couple places. So I'm just throwing the folding bike into the back of the trunk, driving over that, parking near the lake, and then taking the lake on the pathway that runs along it. I haven't gotten further than the microbrewery, but supposedly that runs all the way through Kenmore and up to where the lake, where the delta of the river comes into the lake and out that way. So that will be my mission in the coming weeks, to go further and further.
Yeah, 'tis the season. 'Tis the season. Very beautiful day today down here in California. Uh, Freezing cold and very windy. So, but otherwise, gorgeous day.
Here was very diverse. I like to say, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes and it'll be different. Jim was, a lot of big clouds, fairly sunny day. Came out of the gym, it was really hot, and got back on this side of the hill, and it was like 65 and cool and cloudy. But when I came up here to do the show, it was sunny again. So it's interesting. It's a different thing.
Absolutely, yes. Good to get out. Getting out and experiencing life outdoors, especially as things are starting to open, um, they make for special inspiration for those in the creative arts, those who are writing, singing, producing, and because you get out and you could explore life and have something with which to report back to your listening base, for example.
That's a
And so
very
it's
good point.
all more important to get out.
So I've now saw people with Jim, saw people on bicycles with dogs, and had beer in public, and went to a concert. And tomorrow night I'm going to go to a live podcast in Seattle. And so, yeah, starting to get out and, like you say, collect stories. And I'm hoping I bring those back to the studio and start creating some new pieces. I'm working on finishing the second of the two singles that started in October 2019.
Mhm.
And last Friday, the acoustic mix of my song Rise Up, that originally was written with the band Raccoons on the Moon, came out in sponsor of Environment Day. So yeah, I feel like the juices are starting to get flowing, and yeah, I'm looking forward to doing more. I thought during the lockdown that I would do even more, but I think I found I hunkered down in the technology, and I don't know. I just didn't feel creative during that period, but now looking forward to it. Speaking of creative, we have a guest this week. And that guest is Eu4ic. She's a performer. She's a keyboardist. She's a remixer, and many things more. Here's a brief sample of some of her music.
For those without a pulse, needing a sanctuary where you feel the most alive. For those without a pulse, I gladly give you mine. I gladly give you mine. I gladly give you mine.
Hey, and Eu4ic yourself is here.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Cool. How are you doing? You're in San Jose?
I'm in San Jose, yes indeed, and we're having a pretty warm but also unusually windy day down here.
Cool.
So it's been pretty nice. Good summer so far.
Yeah, I grew up in San Jose, so yeah, summers are warm. Wind,
But yeah,
but yeah, summers are
we
not.
do have those heat waves once in a while,
Yes,
and generally it's fairly warm.
I tease a lot in the opening of the show about how I'm settling into Seattle a year and a half later. But I am thankful that even when it's 87 degrees during the day, at night it's 65. So you
Nice.
don't get those lying in bed going, "Oh my God, when will this heat ever end?" And it doesn't.
Right. Do you ever miss the sun up there in the Pacific Northwest? Or do you get some sun.
You've not seen many previous episodes. I'm like, okay, I need to tap this down because it is gorgeous up here, and I enjoy the fact that we have water and trees and all this other stuff. But man, yeah, getting used to the temperature change. I'd say San Jose is 9 months of summer, and Seattle is 9 months of winter.
Right.
So you've got to light over here. I have automatic lights in the house that go on. You have to, when you see the sun, you go out immediately because it might not be there in 2 hours. So yeah, it's a lifestyle change.
Definitely. I actually spent a couple years living in Portland, Oregon.
Okay,
So
so
I did go from San Jose to the Pacific Northwest for a while, and it was a shift. We did have a lot of clouds most of the time. Summers are very beautiful, though.
very beautiful. When you get out and about, I mean, especially here along the Sound, there's no fires or shortage of water. So it's when I stopped back by the Bay Area before I settled in, so that's still like, I don't know, November 2019. I remember flying over the Bay Area for my transfer flight and going, wow, I never knew I grew up in a desert. Because after you're up here for just a short time, you then go back up. Well, at first, when you come up here, you're like, why can't I see anywhere? Because, there's trees everywhere. And then you go back to San Francisco Bay Area, and you're like, where are the trees?
Yeah,
How do you
a
think,
lot of trees up there.
how do you feel that geography has influenced your music?
That's a good question. I would say that living in Oregon was it was a very peaceful shift. It's a lot more quiet there. And I also didn't have a car at the time, and I was studying and writing music. And I would just bike from my house, which was in the St. John area of Portland, into downtown and have a cup of coffee on a rainy day, and sometimes watch the rain come pouring down out there, and get songwriting done as well as homework. And yeah, I would say that there was just a different feeling in the air. It's a lot quieter than California. It's a state of mind. It's a state of mind for sure.
Yeah, certainly the Bay Area is like being in one large machine. That machine is go, 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 go. And up here
Right.
in Seattle, even downtown Seattle, it's a lot more relaxed feeling.
Right on. I actually went to Seattle a couple of weeks ago just for 2 days, just to hang out and spend time at the pier. It was a random weekend getaway, I guess. And yeah, we actually got some sun that weekend, but it was a nice temperate weather, and it was a lot of fun. We had some beer, hung out. We went on the Ferris wheel. Yeah,
Cool.
it's a nice city.
So I'm starting to just get back out. My wife just passed her 2-week mark for her second vaccine, so I now I can get out and not bring anything back home and have all those worries and concerns. So yeah, I'm starting to get back out. The band I consult with, went and saw them live at a show. I was telling Joe earlier, I got to the gym, did some bicycle riding. So I look forward to getting back out to the city, and because even though I've been here for a year and a half, I've not done a single tourist thing. It's like we entered lockdown really quickly.
Right.
How
So
does
you've been there, or you got there just before COVID then?
yes, we bought the place, we moved in, and then I went to live in Europe for a little while, and then she settled in. I came back from Europe, and then I started building some music community connections up here. And then I did one of 2 shows, and everything just shut down for like a year. So
Wow.
yeah, so I feel like I've come back from Mars, and I'm getting out of the pod and stumbling around and seeing groups of people. So today was the second time in over a year that I was in the presence of multiple people.
Yeah, it's a great feeling. Good feeling.
Very trippy. So I'm going to play video, and this is a new video called Smile.
Are you safe in there? Shooting every one of those false hopes down. So you're pretty sure they're on solid ground now. So far beyond repair, but there's a break in the entropy, and that lasting light is all I see. It's all I see. It's all I see. And that lasting light is all I see. It's all I see. It's all I see. That isn't really you, I don't believe. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. They don't want you feeling bold. That's the first thing you need to make a brighter day. And then once the dream is sold, you're afraid they'll have you crawling on your knees. Why does it always have to be that way? Hey, hey. Why does it always have to be that way? Hey, 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 hey. Why does it always have to be that way? Hey, hey. Yes, I can hear you. No, I don't think you're wrong. I wanna see you shine your brightest. I wanna see you standing strong. Yes, I can feel the poison. Don't let it take over you, love. You're not who you used to be, love. So comfortable in your sadness, wearing your fear with pride. Who do you think you're fooling? You gotta find some way to take back your mind. Didn't say it was easy. didn't say you had no right. I don't want you to give up, baby. And I know it's not warm at night. I don't want you to calm down, but it seems you forget what you're fighting for. Do you think we can make things better? Or is that what you want anymore? Isn't that what you want anymore? Isn't that what you want anymore? I just wanna see you. I just wanna see you smile. I just wanna see you smile. Can you still smile?
That was a brand new video from Eu4ic, and the song is called Smile. So tell us a bit about this song and how it came about. I know we were talking about geography, different places on the west coast of the United States, and I recognized the cave that you were in. So
Oh yeah.
I'm curious how the videography and those choices related to the song as well.
Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think it's really inspired by growing up in the Bay Area and hanging out in Santa Cruz and different Bay Area locations. And so I wanted to work with a local videographer, and I was introduced to Sarah Beth Arnold. She's a singer as well as a videographer, and so she was a joy to work with. And she lived in San Francisco. So I said, I think we want to do a dark cave, a dark, mysterious cave, and we also want scenes of nature with lots of trees. And she said, okay, what about the Sutro Baths? And that turned out to be the best place to film. So this was located in the Sutro Baths. There is a cave with this awesome part in the rock where the water comes in and crashes against the rock, as you can see in the video. And so she pretty much knew just the spot. I actually had never been there. And it's kind of neat for those who may not have been. It used to be a boardwalk, I believe, but that was decades ago. And now there are just kind of ruins of like walls, and there are kind of these areas that look like they used to be maybe kind of like a circus ride at some point, but it's now just kind of rubble. And you walk down there to the water, and there is a cave in there. So that's where we got to film. So it was a great location. And the other location was in Golden Gate Park. So that's kind of where you see the trees and the wooded areas in the video. Yeah.
So, and where was the that ruined building?
Oh, so aside from the Sutro Baths and the Golden Gate Park, there's actually some great stock footage in there as well. And so making it, I actually edited the video. So there's some great, I kind of love urban exploration. And so I was able to find some other clips that kind of fit well in the clips that we already had with the same lighting and the same kind of theme, so that it all kind of blends together. So there's a little bit of fiction there, because some locations are from other places in the world, and there are some locations that are on site in San Francisco. So.
Got it. I was wondering about that, because I'm like, I don't know those locations, and I'm always interested in how much material comes from stock these days. Whether it's a soundtrack for a TV show from a loop library, from a library, sound library. A lot of songs come from loop libraries. And there's, between Shutterstock and etc. I used to shoot all my own videos, do all my own photography for the album covers. And now I just use Shutterstock. I go and find some image I like and pay a license and use it. And I've found that that's been helpful to me so I can focus my time on the thing that I can't get online, which is my music and my singing. So that's I see as a great benefit for me. So curious how you chose that material and curated it.
I think with the song, creating sounds also kind of creates images for me. So I kind of envision scenes that the sound reminds me of. And so, yeah, it really just started with the vision. I definitely wanted to be in the video, so we did some on-site shots. But yeah, it really came together serendipitously. I wanted to use another actor who would be kind of mysterious in the video, and I was able to. I don't know how I was able to do it. I was searching on the internet for words that kind of pop out, like abandoned ruins or urban decay. And so you kind of have this, for me, there's a theme of urban decay and ruins, and so man-made things, as well as nature that's kind of growing around those ruins. And there's also, I think, a theme of lightness and dark. You see some kind of dark shots, you see light kind of coming through the cracks. And so I kind of wanted to create those two, a couple of dichotomies in the visuals. And so surprisingly, I was able to find the right locations and the right stock footage as well to bring it together.
Very cool. Yeah, it reminds me of a couple places that never got to shoot in, and now I don't think they're accessible, but the Oakland old train station, a friend of mine got to shoot a vampire film in there. Oh, and then the old lighthouse structure out by Richmond. I forget what that area is called. Maybe we can talk to Joe later about that.
The Albany Bulb?
The Albany Bulb. And there was a building built out there and whatnot. I just don't know if it's weathered the test of time. But in many ways, a lot of cities don't have those sort of historical landmarks. You have to go to Europe or back east to do it. The West Coast, whether you're in Portland or Seattle, has little elements of it. I'd like to film something in the Seattle underground. That would be cool. Just gotta find the right folks. Let's play another video. This is one in which we have a lyric video. And tell me a little bit how you perceive lyric videos. Lyric videos have become much more popular these days, and I just released one recently. What makes you decide, hey, I want to make a video, or I'm going to make a lyric video?
Sure. So this was the first lyric video I created, and actually I ended up creating it myself. We sort of looked into, so I worked on this this video and song with Suzanne Yeda. And so working with her, we are a band and we're called Helix Code. So this will be, actually you get to see it first here. This will be our first single and music video, and it's called Solar Plexus. So we really wanted to tell a story with this song, which was written by Suzanne. And I think we just wanted to kind of bring out the words. So it seemed perfect for a lyric video. The theme centers around the body and maybe I'd say existence on a molecular level. So we wanted to kind of express this in a very artistic way. and also kind of tell a story. So we decided to make a music video, or a lyric video specifically. We thought about getting a plugin that kind of does it for you. But I started to work actually with Camtasia, and I just took it away, and so we started to kind of put our ideas together, and that's how it came out. So excited to show this one to you.
All right, here is the lyric video for Solar Plexus. All right, well, we had a sound problem. So I'm fixing that now, and then we will... All right, well, we had a sound problem. So I'm fixing that now, and then we will replay the video. Okay, hold on.
The universe as we know it has been in existence for 170,000.
We will start again with Solar Plexus by Eu4ic and Susan Yeda.
body parts are calling truths. Here in the hospital room, laying down their weapons, they are making amends soon.
There's a lame I find down. There's a lame I burn down. My body parts are calling truths. Here in the hospital room, they're laying down their weapons. They are making amends soon. One day I might meet someone over the lane. One day I might meet someone that's the same at the exit. Someone must at the Thank you.
That was Solar Plexus by Eu4ic and Suzanne Yeda. And the name of your combo band is Helix
Helix
Code?
Code.
Helix Code.
Helix Code indeed. With 2 X's.
All right, folks, look up Helix Code with 2 X's for tracks like that. And then Suzanne Yeda also goes by Little Spiral. Check out her episode a couple weeks ago. And then for Eu4ic, it's EU number 4.
I see.
I see. No R. I'm learning. Cool. Well, how did this collaboration, how did you and Suzanne meet and start collaborating?
So we met through some friends on Facebook. We were in a few different Facebook groups for musicians around the Bay. And she's from out in Contra Costa County. And I started to chat with her and noticed that she's a songwriter and a really cool person. And we started to chat about, getting together for a collaboration. And eventually, when I was living in the East Bay, closer to her, we started to hang out. And later, a room opened up in the house I was living at. And I said, hey, if you need a place to stay, you can move over here. And we ended up living together for a while. So it was super cool. It's fun to work with and live with other artists. And we actually got to hold each other accountable as musicians. So we made sure to meet up and jam on a regular basis. And we said, hey, let's make some music together. So basically, Suzanne has a lot of material that she has written, and she was just kind of looking for opportunities to collab. And so she wrote that song you just heard, and I produced it. So the production, the sounds, the ambience, the drums programmed there, and the music video was by myself, and she is the singer, the main singer in the track, and the songwriter. So
Very cool.
it's a great union.
I love getting to collaborate. I do a lot. Most of my body of work has been fairly solo, and when a collaboration happens, it makes you do things you would never think to do yourself.
So true. Yeah, absolutely. It was a lot of fun coming from 2 different backgrounds in music. And we actually got to play out a couple of times. We played out at a bar in San Francisco called Bar Fluxus. And we also played at a location in Berkeley as well. So that was a lot of fun.
So, what is your music background? When did you start writing and start using the computer to make music, etc.?
Sure. Well, I started out playing flute in bands when I was in junior high, and I when I was younger than that, I loved to plunk around with a keyboard, but I never really took keyboard lessons. When I was about 25 or so after college, I realized that I had gotten my degree and I should have studied music, and so, but I wasn't going back to school at that point. So I
What did
started
you get your
to
degree in?
in digital media. So I went to UC Santa Cruz, go banana slugs. And I studied digital media. So I did film stuff and graphic design, little animation stuff, just kind of visual arts. And then so I went on to teaching myself to produce music. I started out using Fruity Loops, and I pretty much just kind of got a hold of softwares that are free or getting the demo version, and I just kind of went from there. I started to produce beats and just kind of compose some songs that I knew, and songwriting happened a few years later. And then in 2016, I started to actually sing and play my music at open mics. So that was a lot of fun.
Very cool. I mean, how'd that feel doing an open mic?
It was a lot of fun. I found some really supportive communities, like at Red Rock Cafe in Mountain View, and also the Utah, which is in San Francisco. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. It was very groundbreaking to take your music out of the bedroom, so to speak. I'm basically what they call a bedroom producer. I just make music at home. Into actually being on a stage and performing and connecting with the audience and so forth. So yeah, it was quite a big step for me. It was a lot of fun, very exciting.
Cool. It can be nerve-wracking to come out of isolation onto stage.
Oh yeah. I think it was it was just something I figured I'd better go for. Let's see, when I was in my teens, I did a few Shakespeare plays, but I hadn't really spent a lot of time on stage since then. So it was just a big, you know what, let's just go do it, plunge right in. So
Nice. Well, we have a new segment of our show that we are premiering here today, and it is the Humble Rumble. All right, so you are now in the Humble Rumble. What is the one thing that you find makes you feel humble? You're in the rumble seat now.
definitely. We all are? Or me?
We
Can I
well,
go first?
we all are, and I'll even have Joe come on this because where this came out of was after the show would end. Joe and I would be like, "Oh, you did very good," and I'd be like, "Oh no, Joe, you did very good," and I'm like, "What are we doing?" And then one day my mind said, "We're having a humble rumble. We're like out humbling each other," and
Aw.
that might be a good segment to kind of step out of just the music and think about, what sort of grounds you in the world, um, and maybe challenges you. There's the rumble part, right? What challenges you to be grounded with what you do? And certainly, like doing an open mic, if folks don't know what that is, that's literally where you go into a venue, you sign up on a list of names, they get a bunch of open slots, and there's a microphone and a stage, and you go up and you do your thing for a certain amount of time in public. And that can be a very humbling experience. So what's your humble rumble? What is Suzanne
My
and you
humble
like? You do you out humble each other on something? Like, oh, that was really good. Oh no, that was really good.
We do. We always support each other. I would definitely say that when someone gives me a compliment, I feel very humble. Yeah. I think Suzanne and I are always patting each other on the back in our own music efforts because we're both solo artists. Um, I would say that my family makes me feel humble. It's always good to be home. And so, and they raised me throughout thick and thin. So I would say that good friends and family keep me grounded.
Nice. I'm going to play a little snippet from an instrumental of solar plexus so that everybody listening can work on having a grounded moment in their own humility. Grounded, whether it's listening to music like Hex Code or Eu4ic, um, make sure you got some of that in your life. So, family, strong family connection, strong friend connection with Suzanne. You're doing your own thing. You're doing collaborative thing with her. You, from what you said earlier, you feel like you've come to music kind of later than maybe you wanted, or in hindsight, but you chose to dive in.
Right. Yeah. Better late than never, I feel.
And,
I think when you realize what you really want to do, once you admit that to yourself, like there's no going back, and now you're on the right track.
cool. Okay, so you would say that this spark in you had been there how long? Like my mom says, I kicked inside the womb anytime music was playing. So she says it started from the beginning.
Yeah, I think my one question I like to ask people is, what is your first memory of music? Just ever.
Mm.
And I can definitely remember being, I want to say maybe 3 or 4. I was living in Redwood City, California, and we lived in my family and I lived in a duplex there on the east side. Actually, it was like East Road City, East Palo Alto. And I remember my dad playing the song "Don't Worry, Be Happy," and it kind of has an island song and a little percussion. And my dad was playing it on a record. Um, and I remember it slowly kind of came together, and when it really culminated into a chorus, I remember being 4 and just being like, wow, it started out kind of simple, and then it all culminated, and I just remembered that like aha moments, and I was just like, wow, this song is really something else. And my dad was like, he just looked over at me, and he could tell I was feeling it. He was just like, hey, you're into it. So
Nice.
yeah, I feel like it must have started a long time ago.
So
What was your first
not only did you like
memory?
music, but you became aware of the song form. The fact that it's building into a chorus and how layers work. That's interesting to me because I didn't. I experienced music as this complete 2D mural, and it was much later before I could hear verses and choruses and pull that apart. It was all kind of one thing for me. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I think it was interesting how it started out very simple and then it all sort of came together. But I couldn't tell you, like, yeah, which part was the guitar and which part was another instrument. I couldn't, yeah, exactly. And
Oh,
then
that
as you get
that is
older, you
well
sort
for
of,
me. Yeah, I didn't distinguish between the bass and the guitar and keyboards. It was all a complete soundscape coming at me, and yeah, it's probably not until maybe high school that I started actually hearing parts in the song,
right.
and
It's
I
hard to isolate them. You just hear it as a whole. Like this song is like this, generally.
Yeah, and I was probably in my
How's it for your
20s
part?
before I went, oh, intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, all that came like later for me. So my early stuff tends to just go. Like I have a track called Mother, and it's just the same loop playing for 3 minutes and someone playing cello against it, and then me just singing against that. There's no repeat. It just starts and goes and builds to a peak. It's structured more like a novel. Where you start and it builds
Right.
and builds and eventually builds to a peak and then comes to a conclusion versus a walking down the street, hey baby, I'm now walking down the street again, hey baby, you know, that sort of
Uh-huh.
A-B call and response that came much later for me.
Right on. I can relate to the novel idea. I used to like fiction. I used to read fiction a lot more when I was younger. So yeah, actually, I really saw the song "Smile" as being like a culmination instead of having a chorus that keeps coming in to give you that sense of familiarity. It doesn't have a chorus. It just kind of builds up and then it kind of just drops off, starts to build back down again,
I
like a
was
novel.
I was noticing it this time. I didn't notice it the first time, but this time I'm like, oh, it's that same structure of where you're building it up rather than doing the verse chorus thing. So I'm always fascinated by these different structures, you know, and pop is fairly locked into that. But I don't see Smile as sounding particularly, you know, like it doesn't stand out as like odd, like, oh, where's the chorus? Why hasn't that come in yet? And you know Stefan of Balanced Breakfast?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So I think
everyone.
you're a part of the Stefan universe. He just teased me literally today about top 40. I said, I don't want to do any top 40 thing. And he's like, everybody must know top 40. Da, da, da. I'm like, no, it's not always about a dance beat and a verse chorus. It doesn't have to be. So, you know, change it up. Do different stuff. That's what I'm saying. Well, here is a changed up, different piece. This is more of your remixer side. And this is a electronic remix you did with samples from the TV show version of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Not the movie, not the record, not the book, but the British TV series. How did that come about?
I have been a fan of Douglas Adams and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy since I was maybe 12 years old when a neighbor introduced me to the books. And I really liked them. Everyone else was reading Harry Potter, and I was like, I really like Douglas Adams. So I actually didn't really see the BBC show until very recently. And then I just said, wow, this is really funny. And it's so quotable. It has some great sound effects in it. And I think that part definitely got me started on how this could be an electronic dance song. So.
All right, folks, this is Don't Panic, the remix.
The universe as we know it has been in existence for 170,000 billion years and will be ending in a little over 10 minutes' time. I can see that we are in for a fabulous evening's of party.
Improbability level That about wraps it up for God.
That was Don't Panic by Eu4ic. That piece reminds me a lot of video game music. Kind of Mario Brothers, these loops in that period. I'm always fascinated by the generational impact of playing video games on music. For example,
Yeah.
in the kind of goth industrial community, I'm older, so it was still songs. It was The Cure, it was The Smiths, it was Bauhaus, etc. And then all of a sudden one day I showed up to the club and I was hearing boop 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 boop. I'm like, this is goth music, and all these goth, like goths with like fuzzy leg warmers, and I'm like, who are you people? And they're like, we're the goths, we're the goth industrialists. I'm like, well, this is different. So I'm always fascinated by music that has that video game quality, but the game isn't there. It's like we've all been hearing this type of music while we were doing something else, and it seeped into people enough that now it's coming out as music of its own.
You would be
Yeah.
surprised at Death Guild, you'll have an impromptu flash mob when a song breaks out. At one point, Ladytrons Destroy Everything You Touch comes on, and a dozen people break out lightsabers and have a fake lightsaber fight on the dance floor.
That's awesome.
All right, well, that's more like the sci-fi fandom goth crossover expanded universe. I'm thinking more about the lock key, whatever they call it, kid who came home and's like, Mom and Dad aren't home yet, and I'm going to play my video game, and how that's influenced music. Did you play video games?
I definitely did. I think some of that track you just heard kind of has an arcade feel to it. But I also, yeah, I started playing games in the early 90s. But also, I think 80s games definitely had more of an arcade feel since arcades were coming out for the first time back then. Yeah, I definitely played games throughout the 90s, Super Nintendo, Zelda, Donkey Kong, stuff like that. So yeah, I think it does. It has an impact that may be a little subconscious at times. Other times it's on purpose. There are these like arpeggiations you can create that kind of give that really these fast-paced riffs and whatnot. So yeah, I would say that it has an impact for sure.
And for folks that are not band music terminology savvy, arpeggios are when you do a sequence like boop 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 boop. Mozart was fond of this. Did a lot of choral pieces where you're doing these runs that are like that. And with video games, you had such limited amount of information you could put on the chip in those original arcades and the early games that you had to keep it very short and just maybe have a boop 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 for happy things, and then boo 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 boo, for something
Right.
went bad. They were built up of these little loops, and then in the late 90s, when looping tools became much more easy to obtain, right? It wasn't cutting up pieces of tape or programming a chip. It became, hey, I can just fire up my laptop and paint loops. it's like the fans of that looping kind of music then were given the tools to make it themselves.
Very true.
And your first one was Fruity Loops?
My first DAW, or the audio program, my first, they call it a DAW. It was it was Fruity Loops. Yeah, I think it's fun to, if you wanted to create something simple and just kind of learn how the software goes, Fruity Loops is a great way to start. It's also very visual. You can see all those buttons, they're not too small. Ableton is a little bit less visual at times, but I use Ableton Live now.
We're going to talk about Ableton in the after party, definitely. Have a little example, and I'll show folks the screen. Fruity Loops, when it first came out, was this very easy to use, big buttons, colorful, simple program. I know it's grown into a much more complex program, but other digital audio workstations, or DAWs, that we use are just so cram-packed with options that looking at them on the screen, you look at them and say, what the heck am I looking at? So
Right.
we're going to show folks Ableton Live a little later. Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to, I want to do the mystic moment, but I want to say something else. Folks, if you like comedy, irreverent comedy, like, stuff that's a little off and quirky, do check out The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It started as a radio show, I think 13 episodes, something like that, then became a TV series. This is like late 70s, early 80s. Then became a video game, then became a record version, abridged to the book, and then became a whole series of 5, 6 books, and then became a major motion picture with Disney. And every one of them they all start the same and quickly diverge from each other because the author, he couldn't stay on task ever in his life. So every time he rewrote it for a different medium, it would go off a different direction. And I hear that there's going to be a new TV series.
Really? I did not hear that. That's exciting.
HBO Max, or one of them that are, all these companies that have become production houses are now going to a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Disney famously did not make a second film a few years back, but they thought they were going to and whatnot. And I think it's just gotten easier to make. You can make a real high quality, almost movie quality series on television these days. So a lot of these longer stories that it would take 10 years and blah, 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 blah to do, we're now seeing coming to these new TV platforms like Netflix, Hulu, etc. And Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy continues to have legs, so you may run across it again. I will note on the tie back with the video game thing, the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy video game, I don't know, I suppose someone has it on, it's available again now, but it was very early on. It was only text, and it ended, every session that you played it ended the same. You died.
Yeah.
There was one path through the actions that you took in which you would live out of like 100 that you would die. It was.
I never made it, I'll tell you that.
It was like
I couldn't get out of the first room.
Yeah,
it was dark in there. You couldn't see anything, and there were no graphics. So.
And most video games now, they give you a little cookie to ease you along, keep you going. This was like, no, brutal. Either you figure out what this is about, or but it had no music. From what I remember, it was just straight. You type text, you got a response in text, and man, those were early days. All right.
Yeah.
We're going to move on to the mystic moments. So, folks, whoa, it's freaking out. Mystic moment of the week. Ask questions. You've been tuning in, watching me ask questions of other people, ask questions of myself, make lots of statements as well. Ask questions. If you don't know something, ask. And if you want to go forth in the world, to me, it's like, Just keep asking. And it's amazing when you ask questions. It's like you've been wandering around. Well, let me back up here a bit, folks. I was told a few years ago by a boss, I don't ask questions, I make statements. And through doing this show this last year, I really have seen it close up every week, reflected back to myself. So I'm not sure why that is. I think maybe for some reason, I don't know, it just wasn't a habit that I built up. And once you start asking questions, you realize there's this whole categorization of questions. It is a question that broadens the conversation? Is it a question that narrows the conversation? Is it a question that gives more detail? Is it a clarifying question? There are all these classes of questions that until maybe 8 years ago, I didn't know about it. I just asking a question was asking a question. And you use them strategically in different ways. It is a fascinating area. So if you, like me, tend not to ask questions, I greatly recommend you exploring that, and you can do a quick Google search or YouTube search on different question types and apply them in your lives. So that's your Mystic Moment exercise for the week. And now we're going to head off to the after party. We are here interviewing Eu4ic and showing some of her material and Hex Codes material, which is her collaboration with Suzanne Yeda. You can watch our earlier episode a couple weeks ago with Suzanne and her band Little Spiral, and check that out. There's another little Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy tie-in there, in that in Eu4ic's clip in Don't Panic, you hear a little sample from the BBC TV version about a police officer describing why he's in a bad mood. Because the people he's shooting at say that, he's not an understanding person, he's just a tough cop that likes guns. And he explains to them, no, not at all. I'm actually a poet, and I write deep, stuff and very emotional filled stuff. But don't push him too far, because he hasn't published anything recently, and that's put him in a bad mood. And Suzanne does publish her lyrics and books. So not only if you meet an artist on my show that you like, please do reach out to their Bandcamp, subscribe to their YouTube channel. One little subscription, one purchase of a song. It's sometimes it's 99 cents. I know as an artist, when I see those purchases come through, I get excited the rest of the day. So share some love out there with folks and keep them creating. This is the after party, where we get you guys to submit some questions. If you have any questions for Eu4ic, please post them in the comments. You'll see them down below. And we're going to talk a little bit more about production. We've heard your songwriting music stuff. We've heard your remix stuff. We've heard your collaborative stuff. You said you started with Fruity Loops. And then you're now in Ableton Live, which I've been migrating to for 10 years. I've did, over the last couple of years, I've done a couple shows. I do have a Push 2. It sits underneath styrofoam, in which I put the Mac on top of for the show, which is tragic because it's a great device. I'm looking forward to, over the summer, digging back into Ableton Live. At first, Live was a program that didn't crash much. So I did all my work in other programs that I found easier, and then I would port it to Live, either stems or loops for the live show, because it was very stable. And I would port all my work from the Windows machine I do most of my work on to the Mac machine for the same reason, because the Mac didn't crash my Windows machine. All Windows machines I've used tend to crash at some point, but I find the applications that are Windows only, I can make stuff faster. I'm a dual.
I work on a Windows as well. Yeah.
All right. And I know live is available for both. Let's show people a little clip. This is called Fine Tuning Synths, and this is in Ableton Live, which is a software program for making music and doing live shows. You can make music, show videos, and synchronize all your lights. It's meant to drive live shows, like a Cirque du Soleil, show. So it's can be a recording studio. It can be looping, like we heard in the Don't Panic video. It's a lot of different things, which makes it a bit daunting to see at first. Okay, that's enough of that. That was Ableton Live, and it was a timeline, and you saw little strips of color. These are different sound events, and over a timeline going from left to right. That's pretty common, based on reel-to-reel tapes back in the day. But now you can, in real time, you can add all these instruments and then tweak the exact sound of that instrument. And I think watching someone do electronic music is probably as bad as watching people do fencing. It's well, I guess with fencing there's a brief moment of action, but it's you're kind of listening to things over and over for hours and just tweaking one little element and then one little element. I think it takes a certain kind of person that can do that.
I would say when I first got started, I definitely fell asleep during, listening to the same loop over and over again. I would also be producing like late at night, or even not too late, but I would still just sometimes, especially when creating maybe like an ambient soundtrack or like a background noise, like and you're trying to get the right sound to come in. It would start to lull me to sleep to listen to the same stuff, especially since I was working very slowly while trying to figure everything out. So I think as you pick up speed, it just gets a lot more interesting. You make decisions. You say, okay, that's good enough. We're gonna keep it that way. But at first, it was so easy to kind of get lost in all of the options and to not be sure where you're going with it yet. So yeah, and then certainly it is hard to broadcast it. I used to think there's no way in heck I would go on live on Twitch and show everybody the process. I've learned to just take the parts that are most eventful and also just make decisions that are quicker to really show the progress. And it's gotten to be a lot when I'm working on and try to talk about what I'm doing as well. So I can do a little bit of both. And that it took a long time before I was comfortable doing that.
I hear you. Yeah, I have the attention span of a gnat. So I did what I could do, and as soon as I could get some support and help, I did. My buddy Tyrone, he just did a thumbs up on the stream. I don't know if he's listening, but he would come over to my place, and I literally would hear him looping stuff, and I would fall asleep. I would just lie down on the bed and go, I'm going to nap while you're doing this. But it was like a rabbit with one eye open. He would say something. I'd say, yeah, I like that. Da, 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 da. Uh, with some looping, though, if I like a loop, I will just live in it, and I'll forget to change key. I'll forget to oh, right, I need to put a chorus here. I probably should change the loop rather than just 3 minutes of this loop. But getting in and tweaking the exact sounds of things and whatnot, mm, there's a reason I haven't been able to learn how to play guitar. Just it takes like that attention. So how you said at first you were kind of falling asleep with this stuff. I just imagine you like now, like you fall asleep and this loop is going all night long. And you wake up in the morning and oh man, I got this loop stuck in my head.
Oh yeah, I get my own stuff stuck in my head a lot.
Or you dreamed you were in a video game all night long.
Right.
Ah. Hey Joe, what's your attention span like?
Come again? What was that?
What's your attention span like? Could you sit there in front of a piece of software and bang, you know, getting
It
the sound
depends.
just right?
It's funny. You can use distraction as a meditation. Basically, probably the best balance you can have is to literally fall off the bicycle. In the case of when you're so easily distracted, you just shift focus, and the distraction can be the new meditative focus, and then suddenly you're focused again. Um, having the love of something can help, because an obsession, doing something you love, you never work a day in your life. You never have to focus a day in your life because it's what draws you in. Like it could be music, it could be computers, could be writing, can be that. So you have that focus. If it's not something you do, you need outriggers for concentration, of course, lest you lose balance. And focus is like a balance. The outrigger for focus to be like a pen and pencil, writing something that you don't, reading something, a reading assignment can be very daunting. I am horrible at reading assignments, but a good thing could be a pen and paper. You get a nice clean desk that you're proud of, a wide expanse of clean organized surface. You get your favorite ballpoint pen or fountain pen. That's a nice fine tip nib so you can see what you're writing. It doesn't have to be block letters. And then when you break down the paragraphs, you just take notes on what has inspired you. Did it come out and grab you? Did it spark joy, so to speak? And then you write it down, and you can condense something into bite-sized chunks. You break it down. A book is like Goliath, and you have to be David. And your sling is that fountain pen and paper. And that's just one idea.
Okay. I was. It was funny. I was like, we talked about focus, and I'm like, well, you focused on that topic like a laser.
You can
Yeah.
explain.
Let me check the chat, see if anybody's got any questions. Sharon says, "What is your favorite mainstream music?"
Oh.
So
Is that question for me?
your music is not pop, it's dance and it's electro. It has some elements of electro pop, but it has like kind of more gentle ambient.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
what is your favorite mainstream music?
That's an excellent question. When I was growing up, it was R&B music like Whitney Houston, and then when I got to being maybe in my preteens, I started to really like alternative rock. So I liked Smashing Pumpkins, Garbage. Still love Garbage. They're like an electronic band, and a lot of people say, but they sound like garbage. They really don't sound like garbage. They sound incredible. They're my favorite band, I would say. Yeah, so I like alt rock. I'm a 90s person for sure. These days I don't listen to the radio much. Electronic rock stuff, that hipster stuff for a while, MGMT. So I like some hip hop, R&B, and rock. Yeah. And then I also like EDM sometimes as well. So.
So you have a very diverse set of interests because you mentioned management, which they spell it MGMT.
I always say MGMT, but I
And
think it's management.
uh, they they're quite diverse. You know, some go from synth pop into kind of more R&B ish, kind of I don't know, synth wavy. You know, more um yeah, like some retro stuff in what they do as well. Uh, yeah,
And
cool.
I like bands that blend genres for sure. Yeah.
All right, we have another question
I've
here.
even tried to get into okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I've even tried to get into reggae more often these days. You know, music in Espanol, lots of different kinds of stuff. I try to keep my mind and my ears open, I guess.
Very cool. And what's the learning process like for you? You're learning a new piece of software, learning a new style of music.
I would say for software, I just like to get my hands dirty. I like to look at the different ways that you can use software. There's always different cases and scenarios for it. Like, for example, if you have a vision of what you want to do, you could start by saying, I want to maybe like record live instruments, you know, and just kind of figure out how would you do that. And so software tends to be a matter of use case. Like, so what, you know, you kind of have an idea of what you want to accomplish. And I definitely just go to YouTube and and search for tutorials because there's a lot of people that like to share their knowledge, and it's pretty vast. If you have certain questions for certain functions, there's probably a YouTube video for it. And then after that, I just kind of get my hands dirty and try creating some different kinds of tracks, and just kind of get the experience in. Yeah. Genres, sometimes I listen to a genre and I kind of look for what stands out to me or what pops out to me. I might listen to the beginning and say, okay, well, there's a certain use of arpeggiations, or there's a certain use of they have rhythms that have these certain riffs, but those riffs only come in at the transition from the bridge to the chorus or something. But if I notice that riff, I go, ooh, I like that riff. It has a certain rhythm to it. And that might be part of what marks the genre, and see if I can put those into my songs.
So when you hear stuff, you like to sometimes grab, or it influences how what music comes out as a result.
Yeah, sometimes. I would say when I first started making music, I didn't always try to imitate things. I tried to break the rules as much as possible. But these days, like for example, I'm making a synth wave track, I should mention, that's coming out this summer. And I haven't made a synth wave track yet. And so I'm realizing that synth wave is all the rage right now. It's kind of like a retro 80s style, and it mixed with some new elements as well. And so I've been thinking, okay, I have a lot. So maybe I should try, you know, kind of trying one of the genres that's out there, you know, because maybe I can kind of grab a few more views if I kind of go with the flow a little bit. So I've tried actually creating a synthwave track that I'm working on now, and so I might actually like listen to like a DJ set that has a lot of examples and just notice some of the stylistic choices there.
Cool. Yeah, synthwave is.
But I would say,
I thought it was going to die out. I thought it'd be like a year or something, but I think we're now in like year 4 of it being really popular, and
yeah,
it's based off of aesthetically. It's based off like 1984, maybe 85 electronic pop music and visuals.
Right.
You know, like the very Tron computer graphic lines, you know, sharp, clean lines. It's like the Nagel prints uh, on the second Duran Duran album. It has that 80s fashion vibe, but it definitely is a contemporary sound in the end. It harkens back to that, but if you go back to 1984, you won't find anything like that. Somehow
Mhm.
it captures that sound while being completely current. So yeah, that's a real cool option to explore that. I'm gonna play a
For
little.
sure. I think
Oh,
it's
go ahead.
okay. Oh, I
well,
was going to say, I think it's evolving a little bit as well. I think the video gaming community really likes synthwave, and I've even heard it be mixed a little bit with industrial. And there's something called dark wave, which is like a take on synthwave. So it's kind of like expanding and it's not dying out, because I feel like it's growing at the same time. It's interesting.
my last performance in San Francisco, a guy came up to me and said, "Man, that was really good cold wave show." And I'm like, "I've never heard of cold." I guess. Oh yeah, I'm now in that category. That was with my sort of rock industrial band. It's funny how these genre names pop up, especially in electronic music, that are very specific. Like this is uh, synth wave cold or whatever. It's like one little change makes it this or that, and it's a different scene. And
Now it's a subgenre.
yes,
Yeah.
I want to show a clip of you and Suzanne playing live here, and this is a clip I marked down as Soul Color. So that's actually you guys playing Solar Plexus live, and I want to give people a sense of like the gear that you do take to do a live show.
Right.
How has how that really translate? I mean, going to the open mic and taking your music onto stage and performing it is one thing, but then doing a show where you have to haul that much gear. I don't know if folks got a good sense of like there's like you know 6 keyboards on stage and whatnot, and what is that thing on the mic pole behind us? The little square box or
That's I think you're looking at the TC Helicon. It is a it's a pedal for vocals. So you sing into it and it makes your voice sound like far away or spacey, or it could just give your voice a little boost, depending on what patch you have on. So yeah, what was great about this particular show is that we did this at our house. This was our house show, and it was for the release of my first album, Soul Color. And so we brought some friends over, had some wine and pizza, and celebrated my first album, which is Soul Color. And at the same time, Suzanne and I also announced that we are a band called Helix Code, and we played 4 songs, I believe. And yeah, so let's see, that worked out really well because we have a lot of gear, but we didn't have to go anywhere with it. So we just had to set it up in our living room. So
nice.
yeah, definitely bringing a lot of gear to a venue is it's a much bigger deal. And you kind of have to make sure that everything is packed and transported safely, and also that you're really quick and systematic about setting everything up and taking everything down after the show. So when we performed at a bar, we had to make sure that we could do that. So yeah.
My last show here in Seattle, I've watched the video and it looks like I have a microphone, my theremin back here with me, and that's it. and somehow the car was packed, and it took like these massive rolling duffels and 4 people to get all the gear to the stage. Um, I'm always fascinated by people who are able to just put the keyboard on stage and go. But certainly with my shows, a lot of gear comes along.
Oh, awesome.
Tripods. It's always lots of tripods.
Oh, cool.
I for my own shows, I do a lyric screen down below. I'm very easily distracted, and I can, in the middle of the song, just be thinking about the person in the back of the room. So I keep a screen going that brings up the lyrics and sort of karaoke style during my shows to always have that as a reference point. If I get lost in the music, I know right where I am in the piece, and I know, I have an entrance coming up. And what was that 5th word again? So that requires me to bring a monitor and a tripod, and now I'm syncing up the push with the monitor, because I'll put the videos in live. So I'll sync up everything with a backing track, and then add additional instruments and vocals on top.
Oh, wow. I mean, I might need one of those. I might need one of those lyrics sheets. Those are cool.
Yeah,
I was always surprised that I didn't forget my lyrics or just kind of improvised if I forgot for a second.
I found I'd be so worried about the lyric that my performance was inferior. Like, I really kind of let myself into the emotion, let myself go, because if I let myself go, I might drift off and miss my entrance, or but if I say, okay, I gotta remember this, I'm so busy thinking, oh, I gotta remember this lyric, the performance just becomes stilted. But if the
Right.
screen can take on that duty for me, and quite often I don't even look at the screen, but I know it's there. It just takes the worry off my mind, and then I can do what I need to do to connect with the audience.
That is fabulous. I can definitely relate to that. It's like, okay, so you have to get into it, really feel it, but you also don't want to make a mistake. So just knowing how to balance that sort of authenticity of being in the moment with, okay, what are you doing next? Which is very, yeah, well, that's great.
So hopefully when I start playing
It's a good
again,
tip.
I will get another monitor, and I will get one that's more roadworthy, because that was the first and last time that monitor got used. There was $150, because I grabbed the top, and it turns out the plastic, they made the plastic, I guess, to make it smaller edged. It was cheap, and like it lifted up, and the whole LCD just like this, the crack lines went through the whole screen. So I do need to make that more roadworthy. So it's tricky, because the more gear you bring, the more can break.
Oh yeah.
Now, do you guys do your sequences with live for that live performance, say?
Yes. In Ableton Live. Yeah. Just we go into the clip launching mode and just launch the songs. I do a little bit of Korg, and on that track, I was singing background vocals as well.
Cool. And I will say, to do the tracks in clip mode, it does not allow you to do video, but I found there was a third-party way to do it. So I was able to actually, in clip mode, sync up video with the lyrics and output to the screen, but it's not native in live. And I don't know why they don't do it, but they I guess they see the long mode where you're doing the score and recording instruments, like, okay, here's the guitar, here's the bass. They see that as you scoring video, so you can put video up above it. But when you're in clip mode, they see it as just audio triggers. So anyhow, but there is a hack for that. So we can talk about live and the things I've discovered along the way. There's also a plugin that they distribute, third-party plugin, that will let you take live camera input. So you can project on screen, you can point a camera to the audience and take in them, and then it will process it in all these crazy ways and then put them up on the screens and stuff like that. I've become fond of live as a central tool for doing live performances. I probably still never sequence a song in it, for whatever reason. We'll see. Well, we are coming to the end of our time, and I want to make sure that we get a last call with Joe. So here we go, Mr. Joe. Give us the last call. That was the last call with Joe Price. I just realized there's another question here. So if you're willing to, we do have another question from a CJ Storm. Curious, what do you use for the lyrics? CJ, I don't know if you mean for live performance or for Eu4ic when she's writing lyrics. But so how do you develop lyrics, and what are you using to manage that live right now? Is it a lyric stand? You're just hoping and praying that you remember them?
I don't know. I feel like that might have been a good question for you because you had this really cool setup. Me, I literally it starts out on paper and it goes to my brain and somehow it stays there most of the time. Hoping
That
and
is
praying.
that is
Exactly.
a miracle to me. It yeah. It's funny. I've started trusting myself a little bit more, and I'm actually better at it than I thought. But I just do not trust that there's a bunch of show footage of me flipping verses. The order, I might get the verse 100% right, but I flipped which verse happened in what order. So I just don't go there. CJ, for mine, what I'm doing is this is for the Audio Terrace stuff, not the Caleb stuff, which is more folk rock. But for the stuff that is, got a drum machine behind it, I take the drum machine beat or anything that the backing elements, and I actually make a video file of that. And I started at first using it's a karaoke program. Oh, let's see. It's been so long I don't have it on my taskbar. But if you text me on my Caleb Duart Facebook, I can get you the names of programs. But I would either do that, or lately I've just been doing like lyric video style, just dropping lyrics on a music video. So the show is a sequence of video files that are being played with the drum parts and the lyrics, and then we can play to that, play keyboard, other elements on top of synth guitar on top of that. And so like any band, the drummer is the sync, right, that you're syncing up to. And then in Ableton Live, since it's a clip, and I put this little kludge in there where you can trigger a clip, which normally is like a loop, like just a drum loop. So if you're doing a track in live in the track view, it's like a tape recorder model. But in clip view, you can throw all these different clips in and hit different buttons, and it will start looping in sync all these different clips. And I'm essentially sequencing the show as a series of clips. So it's not using the push. You can toggle between states. So for example, I can be using a bank of clips that literally is the set list. If I got 10 songs, I got 10 clips, and each one of them has a button, and I can click go, and it will send the video out to a computer screen that has the lyrics on it facing me and the backing tracks out to the house. And then I can hit another toggle on the push to and play keyboard and synthesizer on it. And if you're not seeing a push to, imagine the keyboard that's right behind Eu4ic right now, left to right, make that into a grid, more like a guitar. So you got left, right, up, down, and a square pattern of buttons, more like a drum machine grid. But you can also play scales and synthesizers on top. So that's what I'm using to do the lyric stuff live. Huh. All right. One person saying the sound is gone now. We were having some dropout on your Zoom earlier, but it seems to have come through. So I say we wrap. Joe, you if you can hear us in the YouTube version of this, that's awesome. Thank you for watching the show, and I'm glad we got to show you more Eu4ic stuff this week. If you'd like to find out more about my stuff, oh, hey, it's back. And now, of course, it's repeating me. So, yeah, check out my stuff on Facebook, Bandcamp, YouTube. Apparently, Facebook wants to be heard now. It wasn't showing audio. Now I can't turn off the audio. It's always great to have you. Thank you for watching. The fact that you guys tune in and watch us each week keeps us going and wanting to make more episodes. So see you this Sunday. Yeah. Watch for my Facebook posts on who will be our next guest.